Hey, this is Brindle Wolf. You're listening to Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action, with programs to spark your growth, lift your spirits, and help you rise into your potential. Rise Awakenings, hear the call. Through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken and climb. Rise Awakening, now is the time. Rise Awakenings, let's rise together.
Start with the quiet parts, the things you hide behind your laugh. Sit with the ache a while. Let every question breathe and ask, who was I trying to be? Who am I when I just stay? Name every tender scar and let them have their say. Till your heart carries you. This is the blue.
Pages of old beliefs, stories that kept you playing small. Lay them out on the floor, see which ones never fit at all. Offer your younger self a kindness you never.
Hello and good morning. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bloom. Happy Monday. And if you're new here, I share wisdom based on my personal experience and knowledge from my educational journey, from my healing journey, from my professional journey, and always coming from that heart-centered space in the greatest degree of love. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Now, the chat questions will be answered as quickly as we can in the order in which it was received. So please make sure that you are thinking of your questions as we're talking so Micah can get them up when the time comes. Speaking of Micah, thank you. Thank you for keeping Rise Awakenings alive, for keeping Rise Radio alive. Founders Day is coming up, everyone. So I'm going to give this shameless plug to Founders Day on Thursday. It's this Thursday. Get your raffle donations in so that you can put your name in the pool for a session with any one of us or a reading with any one of us of your choosing based on that donation. Micah really does everything. At this point, he's doing everything. Before it was him and Carrie. So now it's all on Micah's shoulders to do the Wizard of Oz kind of behind the scenes, everything. So I have great appreciation. Moving forward. Just a reminder, this is a judgment-free zone. And if you want to dive deeper, come find me on healingrose.org or all the socials and reach out to me and let's set something up for us. So today is the topic of rejection. Finally, I canceled last week because I wasn't feeling well. We were supposed to do this last week, and we are doing it this week. Interestingly enough, as spirit works, when I was going to do this last week, I wasn't experiencing rejection in my own personal life, and I think spirit postponed it for me because I need to feel some rejection wound stuff come up for me this week so I can kind of practice what I'm preaching. So let's dive in. This one's going to be a little interactive because I want to begin with asking all of you to think about a time that you felt rejected. Okay? Not necessarily your biggest heartbreak. It could even be something like not getting a job, not being chosen, feeling excluded somewhere, a friendship that's fading away, someone not texting you back, being criticized, feeling misunderstood, or even rejecting yourself for before someone else has a chance, right? So take a breath and notice what comes up for you, because rejection is something every single one of us experiences. It is part of being human. Unfortunately, but fortunately, because it's telling us something. So yet, for many of us, rejection doesn't simply hurt in the present moment, right? It awakens something much older, this wound, this deep rejection wound, right? It touches a wound that already exists from a long time ago. And so I want to explore the idea for a moment of original rejection as you're thinking of times you felt rejection. So we do carry the wounds from our rejection in childhood. Maybe we weren't accepted for who we naturally were. Maybe we learned that love came with conditions, right? Maybe our emotions weren't welcomed. Maybe we felt invisible. Maybe someone left us. Maybe someone stayed physically but emotionally completely unavailable. All these little things. Children don't have the capacity to say, this adult is struggling, right? What happens with us? It turns right back inward as a child. There must be something wrong with me. Those beliefs become unconscious programs, don't they? I'm too much. I'm not enough. I have to earn love. I have to be perfect. I have to keep everyone happy, right? I'll probably be abandoned. This is the crap that we tell ourselves, right? This is what it turns into. And these beliefs become the invisible lens through which we interpret our adult life, okay? So the rejection isn't happening only now. It's echoing through space and time. How does it show up as adults? I'm about to call all y'all out, so get ready. Because it doesn't always look like pain. Sometimes it looks like overachieving. Sometimes it looks like perfectionism. Sometimes it looks like people pleasing. Sometimes it looks like overworking. Sometimes it looks like staying in relationships that no longer honor us because being alone feels more frightening and unsettling. Sometimes it looks like never allowing ourselves to be fully seen. That's a big one. Sometimes we reject opportunities before applying because we're convinced we're going to hear no. Sometimes we don't speak our truth because we assume it won't be received. Sometimes we become the one who leaves first. If I reject you first, you can't reject me. You know, that old thing. We're all guilty. Sometimes we become hyper independent. Who has trouble asking for help, right? I don't need anyone, right? But often it isn't independence, it's self-protection, isn't it? Sometimes rejection creates mass amounts of anxiety, which creates avoidance, which creates controlling your circumstances, control, right? So all these different behaviors, same wound, rejection. The fear that if people truly knew us, they would not choose us. So what is the cost of that? Right? Because the difficult part is that we don't just experience rejection. We organize our lives around avoiding it. Let me say that again. We organize our lives around avoiding rejection. Let that sit in for a second. Think about how many decisions have been made from fear instead of authenticity, right? How many dreams stayed inside of us because someone might judge us? How many conversations never happened? How many boundaries were never spoken? How many versions of ourselves were abandoned just to belong? Sometimes we reject ourselves long before anyone else does, right? We silence our voice, don't we? We shrink our gifts, right? We ignore our intuition. We stay where we're not growing. We betray ourselves in the hopes of being accepted. That's another big one. And every time we do, our nervous system quietly learns, I'm only lovable when I abandon myself. This is all from the rejection wound. That's why I wanted to talk about it, because we've been having all these weeks of like embodying our fullest self and showing up and all this wonderful stuff. But our hugest block is this really old rejection wound. So how do we shift away from that? So healing rejection doesn't mean that you're never going to experience rejection again. We're going to experience a lot of crap. It's how we respond to it, right? It's defining it. How do we define this rejection? Are we allowing rejection to define our worth, our value? Are we giving our power to that rejection? So here's some shifts to have the power to change everything. So let's talk about it. So instead of asking, why wasn't I chosen? Let's ask instead, was this opportunity actually aligned with who I am? Was this person actually aligned with who I am? Okay, let's shift it into alignment with my authentic self and put ourselves back on the priority list instead of taking personally that rejection. So instead of asking what's wrong with me, let's ask instead, what is this experience trying to teach me? So instead of believing I'm not enough, practice believing it's not simply the right fit, period. It's just not the right fit. Not every door is meant for us. Not every door is ours. Remember that. So not every relationship is meant to continue either. Not every opportunity comes along your way is for you either. So none of that stuff has anything to do with your value. It does not make you any less valuable. It does not make you any less human. Okay? You are human. You have to remember someone else's inability to see your value does not determine your value. You have to remember that people can only meet us from the depth to which they have met themselves, projecting the limitations onto us. You have to remember that sometimes people reject what they don't understand. Oh, us neurospices. That's the rejection I received this week because I made a mistake because of how my brain works and operates, and I forgot a really important boundary and offended someone legitimately. That's the problem. That leads to feeling misunderstood, feeling misinterpreted, feeling unseen, because that's not where my heart is. It's my brain did not even have that in its capacity in that moment. So like I had to experience with that reminder myself so I can walk myself through all of this healing right now, live in action. So sometimes people reject what they don't understand. And sometimes they reject what they're afraid of. That's another side of this. Are they afraid of the idea that you are a good person and you are a joyful person and you are a happy person? Is that being rejected? Is that why you're feeling rejected and afraid of being seen? They kind of work hand in hand. So that's another way to see the person. Okay. So also wanting you to remember that sometimes people reject you because something about you reminds them of something that they have unresolved within themselves, right? All this stuff needs to be taken into consideration before you jump to the whole, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, and I suck. This is where we jump to because we're trained that way. So in order to stop ourselves from going down that road, we have to remember what the reality is. And all of these mindsets are helpful in healing and rebuilding your self-trust from those rejection wounds is where the real work comes in. So one of the greatest gifts rejection can offer us is the opportunity to deepen our self-trust. It certainly gives us a shit ton of practice, doesn't it? Okay. So here's what we can do. When we're rejected, our first instinct, right, is often to look outward. What do they think? What did I do wrong? How can I change? So the shift is, what do I know to be true? What feels aligned with me? What does my heart need? Okay. Asking yourself those questions helps you grow and build the self-trust. And every time we keep promises to ourselves from whatever we intuit, we honor our boundaries, right? Every time we honor our boundaries, every time we rest, every time when we're tired, we actually allow ourselves to rest. Every time we choose honesty over approval, right? Every time we don't betray ourselves because we're honest instead of worrying about if we're going to get approved. Every time we listen to our intuition. Self-love isn't convincing yourself that you're perfect. It's deciding you won't abandon yourself on hard days, especially on hard days. And that's where the most rejection comes into play. Because whether it's someone else rejecting us or we feeling rejected, we're rejecting ourselves on some level. So the goal is not to feel worthy only when life is going well. The goal is to remember your worth even when life is saying nope. Okay? We already know about rejection as redirection. I talked about this in the past. So reminding ourselves that looking back over our lives, how many times we felt devastated in a moment only to realize later that made space for something far better to come in, right? So let's reflect on those times that we got redirected. The job that we didn't get, the relationship that ended, the friendship that changed, the opportunity that disappeared. At those times, it felt like, oh my God, that's the worst thing on the planet, right? Later, it became very clear. It became a direction for you to step in, right? It was protection from experiencing things that you weren't meant to experience. It was preparation for you to learn more about yourself to move forward. Sometimes it was an invitation to become somebody new, right? Well, I'm just going to start over, right? Sometimes life closes a door because we've been knocking on the wrong door. So rejection is inevitable in those circumstances. So shifting our mindsets to these are healthy ways to get ourselves through that rejection wound and stop ourselves from going down those roads where we're attacking our self-worth. Okay? Because it's not because we're unworthy. It's because sometimes something more aligned is waiting for us on the other end of this rejection wound. And we're building our self-trust by giving ourselves grace and space to see the protection, the redirection, and the understanding, the deeper understanding. So we have to ask ourselves, will I trust the path even when I can't see where it's leading me? Okay? That's the question rejection is asking us to reflect on. We reject others accidentally sometimes, don't we? Sometimes we dismiss their feelings. Sometimes we make assumptions instead of becoming curious about what their intentions or meaning is. Sometimes we're uncomfortable with their feelings, so we just don't want to deal. Sometimes we don't want to communicate. We just withdraw from them, and that withdrawal becomes the rejection. Sometimes we judge before we have an understanding of where they're coming from and what their experiences have led them to, right? So we can unfortunately, unintentionally reject people because of our own discomfort sometimes. When we expect perfection from others, we're expecting perfection from ourselves. And that means we're rejecting a lot of aspects of ourselves that don't fit into this programmed idea of what that looks like. And when we stop seeing someone's humanity, right, because they've disappointed us or because we have expectations, we reject them. And sometimes we reject people because they mirror a part of ourselves that we haven't accepted about ourselves yet. So this rejection wound works in both directions. We're rejecting just as much as we're feeling rejected. So we have to take a step back and develop more compassion for ourselves so that we have more compassion naturally extending outward to everyone around us. We have to move through the rejection like we move through every trigger. Pause, breathe, putting your hand on your heart, noticing that younger part of yourself, feeling that pain, reflecting on whether this particular moment is carrying that same energy or if it's just reminding you of it because maybe that person hasn't learned yet how to compassionately move through rejecting or disagreeing or saying no to you in a healthy way themselves, but they don't mean to harm you. You know, like there's old feelings here that are in need of some gentle love and compassion. Okay. Often you'll discover that the intensity belongs to the younger version of yourself that was hyper criticized and felt like they couldn't do anything right and who simply just wanted to be loved, flaws and all. Quote, air quotes on the flaws, because we're not flawed. So we have to meet that version of ourselves with lots of compassion. So don't shame yourself. A lot of times when we're feeling rejected, we shame ourselves. Like, I should be over this already, right? Don't we? How many of you do that? I'm calling you all out today. Maybe we can say to ourselves, of course this hurts. Of course. And remind yourself, you're here for yourself. You don't have to earn love. You don't have to become someone else. We're safe with us. Healing is becoming the safe place for your younger self that you were always searching for. Okay? And I'd like to leave you with this thought before we dive into asking questions, okay? Because the opposite of rejection isn't acceptance from other people. The opposite of rejection is self acceptance in its fullest. And this is what we've been talking about for weeks. Because once you stop rejecting yourself, the opinions of others lose their power to define you. You begin choosing relationships that honor you. Your tolerance level disappears, right? So you begin choosing relationships that honor you. Okay? So ask yourself what works to fulfill you. Find the communities that celebrate you. You don't chase anymore when you fully accept yourself. You don't chase places to belong to. Okay? You begin living from that heart-centered space of fearlessness. You know what I mean? So the next time life closes a door for you or somebody says no, and you're not going to ask anymore, why wasn't I chosen? You're going to say, what version of me is this experience inviting me to become? Okay? It's not the end of the story. Rejection is not the end. It's simply a way of lovingly redirecting you back to the person you're meant to be. Okay? Your worth has never been in question. You've been worthy all along. Let's talk about this because this is a big one for a lot of you. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's see. Is it bad? I can't think of a specific time when I constantly felt rejected or that I was going to be rejected. No, it just tells me you're neurospicy. Let's pause on that for a second. For us neurospicy folks, it's hard to explain what it feels like to exist in a space where you're continuously feeling misunderstood, unheard, misinterpreted, all because we do things innocently most of the time from a heart-centered space, and our sense of injustice is so strong so that when we create something that feels like an injustice to someone else, it hits us like a fucking freight train. It's painful. Our entire bodies feel it. It is a painful experience for us. And that sense of rejection really is a struggle because for neurotypicals, it's completely different experience. They get pissed, they're done, they move on. For us, it lives in our bodies for a very extended period of time because we've only ever felt like we can't do anything right and we fuck everything up and we're just something wrong with us because we can't remember stuff when we need to remember stuff. We remember it when we're reminded, and sometimes when we get reminded, it's unfriendly, unkind, and it's projected pain onto us. And that really exacerbates the rejection because we don't ever want to make anyone feel rejected. So we walk around feeling more rejected than ever by everyone, and yet we never want anyone to feel rejected. So anytime we get rejection, it's exacerbated 1,000 times. I don't know if that's a good description, but if that's a good description, let me know in the comments if you all feel that. You know, whatever rejection experience I experienced this week, I'm still fucking holding it. It's still in my body. I'm still working through it. It's not gone. Yeah, thank you. Right, we lose sleep over it. I'm seeing the comments now. It's physically painful. We lose sleep over it. We ruminate over how could I have spoken something differently. It's a whole different universe that we live in as a neurodivergent physical experience. And so I know there's a lot of neurospicy people in this group because we're the most traumatized. So just get that. Who share some experiences with me of your trauma. I have felt rejected and abandoned for 49 years. Both sides of my blood family disown me, friends leaving, lovers being with me just for what I have to offer, not because of like or love for me, blah, blah, blah. Right. I have learned that I have learned I'm not the rejected. There's an additional piece to this. I have to find it. Toy I thought I was, and recently have found a sense of freedom in it instead. Yeah. It's that switching to the freedom part. We have to switch to redirection. We have to switch our mindset so we can navigate through that rejection, because we feel rejection in a lot of different ways. I don't know how to get people to hear me that self-trust isn't there. Yeah. And unfortunately, for some of us, we try so hard to over explain ourselves. It ends up being received as more rejection because you're just making excuses. You could choose to do something differently. Like we're choosing to forget some very important piece that you told us and gave us to hold. How can we trust ourselves if we're so irresponsible with someone else's trusted thing? You know what I'm saying? Like we're not doing any of this intentionally. So of course we're our own worst critics. We create a lot of our own rejection pain. A lot of folks don't experience what we're experiencing. So the work for us is so much more important because we need to build that self-trust by shifting our mindset to that of the redirection, the let me put this in perspective of the reality of the circumstances and situations. Let me remind my nervous system that I am my safe place and I give myself grace non-judgmentally. Let me find other people. Let me find a community. I have a community of neurospicy friends, and the only neurotypicals allowed in my space have as much grace and compassion for me as my neurospicy friends who equally fuck up. And none of us are fucking up. I'm putting air quotes around that term. It's how we're made to feel. We're made to feel like we are a fuck up. That's what's projected at us with the anger, frustration, pain, disappointment that comes our way because we caused a consequence that they had to deal with. It's very real, and they're not wrong. That's the part. They're not wrong a lot of the times. We do forget things. We do make mistakes. It happens because we're trying to exist in a world that isn't built for us. It is created to sabotage us. It is not meant for our type of brain. That's the conundrum. It's a challenge to navigate through this. So it is super, 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 super important. Important. That was so Bugs Bunny like. It was so, that's neurospicy though. It's just how things come out sometimes. We can't judge ourselves for that. Okay? That's why it's hard to be seen, because we get criticized all the fucking time by everyone for anything, right? Cinder Kitten says, I'm trying to learn to be okay by myself. And that's the hardest part. Pardon the keyboard stuck. It's all good. I'm translating. I end up talking too much because I'm overfilling the sentence and can't trust myself. I understand that at all. And I trust that. I want you to start shifting into practices and stopping yourself when you catch yourself feeling like you have to over-explain. No over-explaining. Pause yourself and say, you know what? I can share my insight as to what the context of the circumstance and situation was and where I was coming from for their understanding. I need to edit all the extra added details that we're putting in that becomes over explaining and filling in the gaps. Okay, so we're going to get really good and practice thinking about what it is that we're feeling, thinking about how can I share what the reality of the circumstances and my intention was, short and sweet. so I don't lose them in a big story. Okay. So we can not over explain. That over explaining is a trauma response because of our rejection sensitivity and, how it makes us feel, the pain that it brings up. I hate the rejection of I'm trying to show you I relate and you think I'm making it all about me. Yes, that is a rejection. So here's where we have to integrate, because we do live in this world where folks don't understand us. It's frustrating and it's challenging for us because we're not trying to be anything but ourselves, and ourselves is inherently rejected by this world. So this is all like proving why we're always inherently rejected. Yes. Put that back up for a second, Micah, if you don't mind. Because I want to be able to focus my own brain in it. This is something that we all struggle with. And the way that I've learned to adapt is to catch myself switching gears or relating and reminding myself I might be relating to one small part and they may not be able to express what they're actually trying to express to me yet. So I might be blocking them from learning, from sharing the full breadth of what they're trying to express to me. So I pause myself from trying to relate, and then I ask myself, wait, hear more first, and then decide if what you wanted to relate even applies to the point they were trying to make. So I remind myself, wait for the full point that they're making before I share my relatability story. Because what I've learned and what I've noticed is that when I've paused and allowed them to finish, sometimes it went in a different direction. Sometimes they had to get emotions out that I wouldn't have allowed to get out, which would have frustrated them. So part of loving ourselves is to hold space for ourselves, to hold our agenda and put that on the shelf, because our good intention is to relate, but it doesn't always translate that way. So our self-compassion is if like, well, I want to feel heard, then let me make them feel heard. And let me hold space for them first so that they could hold space for me. This is all healthy stuff with healthy people. None of this shit works with abusive people. Let me just state that very loud and clear. None of this healthy stuff works for abusive people. Okay, done. This is in healthy environments. Absolutely, we're weird or crazy. When we really just see it differently, that's what I tell my baby. Yeah, there's no weird, just your perception of someone else's reality. Yeah, that's very, very true. Thank you for saying that. That's the reality. We see life differently. We exist differently. We experience life differently. We're super sensitive in every way, and we're feeling everyone's feelings. So we feel when they're pissed off, frustrated, judgmental, misinterpreting us. We feel misinterpreted because we're feeling them misinterpreting us. That's something that neurotypicals don't experience in that way, to that depth, unless they do their inner work to connect with those aspects of themselves. And even then it's slightly different because their brain isn't wired the way ours is, to have receptors everywhere taking in all of this extra sensory stuff. That makes sense? That was a lot, but you know what I mean? It's a lot for us. So rejection happens differently in neurotypical bodies than it does in the neurospicy body. So the neurotypicals, they have a different way of moving through how that moves into their body. We never stop experiencing rejection. Our joy is shamed, our mistakes and the way things processing and comes out of our mouth, and we make mistakes with our sentences and words, like our brain doesn't work that way. It just processes things differently. So we're always going to be giving someone an opportunity to criticize, mock, shame, whatever. That's on them, though. That's their heart. That's where they're at, which is why community and finding your tribe is important, because you do desperately need to surround yourself with people who have grace and compassion for your different brain and nervous system. Okay? Neurotypicals will move through the emotions much faster and easier, and they'll move past it. Neurospices hold it in their bodies. Could take a long time sometimes. And sometimes it never leaves. We never feel safe because we're re-injured all the fucking time, right? So that's why our mindset shift has to happen so quickly. What was that was going to pop up on the screen that you wanted to put up? Or not, maybe it wasn't. Okay, so maybe we're not popping it up. I had an ex who was schizophrenic and swore birds were cussing her out. She would yell back at them, and I could tell she could see it, and I felt bad when she couldn't hold it in. Wow. Yeah, and on a note with mental health, as far as the diagnoses, I'm not saying this is true for every schizophrenic, but there are, on a spiritual level, unaware schizophrenics can, at a lower vibrational state, are experiencing different timelines at the same time in multidimensional. They're living a multidimensional experience in a completely unaware state in fear, which is all of that negative stuff. So instead of hearing, oh, the birds are cheering me on, they're hearing the birds are pissed off at me and they're getting pissed off. And it's a negative thing. And they may be experiencing that frequency because there might be open to those different frequencies, and it's seen as a mental illness. So like there's different degrees of that. There's a different levels of the spectrum of that, because it is debilitating in a lot of individuals. And there's a spectrum for that. So I just wanted to point that out too, because I know a lot of folks get, especially the neurospices, we get slapped with all these diagnostic labels in our experiences that exacerbate the rejection stuff and then keep us stuck there. And I don't want you to feel like you got to get stuck there, because what we give you on all of these shows on Rise Awakenings is the tools and the mindset shifts and the things that you need to do in order to help yourself to move through it, to bring your own self-regulation, nervous system safety, and mind-heart coherence into play. The stuff that we're teaching you will help you navigate life so much more simply, so much more smoothly, so much more compassionately and lovingly. And that will then outwardly be your bubble of protection for yourself from receiving the rejection. The only reason why I experienced rejection in my experience this week is because it was someone in my close proximity. So if it's someone in my close proximity, of course I'm going to feel bad, because my heart is in you and I don't want to hurt you. That hurts me 1,000 times more than you're going to feel. You know what I'm saying? And they're not neurospicy, so they don't get it. So, I hate to admit it, but I still really struggle with rejection from my mom. Yeah. Oh, the family rejection. Let's talk about that for a minute, because there was a few in here about the family rejection. A lot of family rejection in here. That hurts the most, because they love you, and having to radically accept the idea that their love is limited, their love has conditions, because they're limited in their beliefs and they have limited awareness, that we feel re-abandoned continuously, re-neglected, re-refused, re-rejected every single time. They misunderstand us and refuse to see us for who we truly are, and to recognize us for who we are. So I know that the family aspect is the hardest one for us to navigate through. There has to be that, we've talked about this in previous shows too, And I know we've talked about this on Phoenix Talks. We've talked about everything I'm talking about on Phoenix Talks. In fact, I'm going to plug the song that we're going to play at the end of this because we did a rejection one on a Phoenix Talks. We're going to play that rejection song at the end of this, so you get a special treat today. I know we've talked about all of this stuff, so we really have to give ourselves space to understand that we can give ourselves permission to emotionally detach, that we got to hold space for ourselves to do that. We have to give ourselves permission to do that. We can detach from the value that we place on their opinion of us. Their opinion is not in alignment with our values and our beliefs. They don't have the capacity to not reject us. So why are we still carrying it? We can love them from afar. And then it continues, I have been told so many times I'm too soft, too loving, too giving, too much, too weird, too ugly, too fat, too short, too everything. Just so I just stuck to myself and I created a shell. Bubblekins, I think every single one of us can add to that list on top of what you already said. Okay? All of that. I have been told I'm too joyful. I've had people pissed off at me saying, I'm not interested in your positive attitude. Like, I can, why are you so damn happy? I need you to not be happy right now. Like, just, there's so many variations of rejection. Oh yeah, the Papa look. I love the Papa look. Everybody knows that look who's seen Micah. We all have felt that on such a great degree and such a huge level. And so this compassion work that we do for ourselves is so paramount, because the first person who rejects us after, as an adult is ourselves. We accept the rejection of others as an indication of our worth and our value. And that's the part that we have to stop. And we can't stop it without the compassion towards ourselves, without the love towards ourselves, without the grace towards ourselves. That's why I laugh at everything. I laugh at everything because I'm really laughing at myself and my quirkiness. I'm finding joy in my quirky weirdness, in my too muchness, in my not enoughness. I am weird as fuck and I let it shine. And it's okay. I'm okay with being rejected, except when it's somebody in my inner circle. That's where it hurts my heart, because I know it's because I did something wrong. But I didn't do anything wrong, because at the time it was completely innocent and I forgot, or something, you know what I'm saying? Something very fucking neurospice brain related happened. There was zero intention in there. And I'm saying this because every neurospice in here can absolutely relate to every single time they got crucified for something they didn't mean to have happen. It just fucking happened because our brains. I feel that every one of us feels that pain, and every one of us wants to cry about it. And we should, because we do need to feel frustrated for ourselves. We do need to allow ourselves to move through the emotions, that frustration that we feel, that comes from feeling unseen, unheard, misunderstood, misinterpreted too much. That never-ending list of we're not accepted. That's what it boils down to. We're rejecting ourselves, so we're not fully accepting ourselves. Your homework, deepest, most deep layers of compassion. I am enough. I am compassionate. I am worthy. I am valuable. All of those things. And reminding yourself their rejection has no indication of my worth and my value. That sometimes is, and adding context for someone does not require you to give a novena of circumstantial evidence of why you're innocent. Okay? The healthiest thing we can do is to own it when we fuck up and say, this is what my brain was doing in that moment. It was not intentional. After you got pissed at me is when it flooded back from that archive it's been filed in. Okay. So we have to give ourselves grace for our body, the way our body works. Okay. We have to self-accept, because when we self-accept, we don't tolerate someone else's projected pain onto us, right? We don't accept that in our space becomes, and the people in our space become loving and compassionate and graceful, because we're no longer tolerating someone else's discompassion towards our violation. Because folks don't need to project their anger at you. And I want to make that very clear. We're allowed to be frustrated with how we get stuff projected at us in rejection. We have to feel that and acknowledge that feeling and validate our feeling, okay? A lot of people are taught to project their anger at you. Nobody should be projecting anything at you, because technically we're all supposed to be working it out ourselves, within ourselves first. All of this stuff is an inside job. I get pissed off a lot, but I don't tell you. I'm going to first work it out within my head. And then if there's something that I need to address with you, I allow myself to walk through it until I feel like, okay, this is at the root of that pain for me. Let me bring this need to that person. Therefore, my focus is on this need, and then ask for that need. So no one should ever be projecting their fucking pissed offness at you, ever, in any form. That I want you to understand very clearly. You're allowed to feel frustrated and hurt. Please validate yourself. Validate those parts of you and give yourself so much grace and compassion and self-acceptance for that pain and for this experience. Doing this shift work is what navigates us through it in a healthier, more peaceful and loving way. Okay? It's going to happen from time to time. We just got to own it and walk through it. All right, with compassion and love. I'm going to plug Founders Day one more time. I can't wait to see everybody there. It's going to be an amazing day with an amazing lineup. Go to Embers of Light for it, and enjoy. I forgot what topic we're doing on consideration. Comparison. Are we doing? I think we're doing comparison on Wednesday, which is another amazing song for Phoenix Talks. Catch tonight's show, and I don't remember the lineup, so just go to Embers of Light. It's not going to pop in my brain. And enjoy Rejection. Go love yourselves. Go give yourselves compassion and redirect yourself, okay? I love you.
Walking by a mirror, avoiding the reflection, eyes not making contact, constant redirection, covering the sadness written on the face, checking every detail, masked firmly in place. But underneath it all, a feeling all too known lurks beneath the smile that one too many own. Rejected, you're not wanted, always in the way. Words escape.
Hey, this is Brindle Wolf. You're listening to Rise Awakenings, part of the Rise Radio Network where advice meets action, with programs to spark your growth, lift your spirits, and help you rise into your potential. Rise Awakenings, hear the call. Through the static, we break the wall. Your station, your voice where dreams awaken and climb. Rise Awakenings, now is the time. Rise Awakenings, let's rise together.